And I sought for a man among them that should make up the hedge and stand in the gap before me for the land, and that I should not destroy it. But I found none. Ezekiel 22:30. How y'all doing? Sergeant Sagi, welcome back. I hope the Lord has blessed your day. I want to talk to you about the weakness of people. The weakness of Christians nowadays. This social justice stuff has really gotten into everything, and especially the younger generation. Us older people, we've got our toes dug in the sand a bit, but let's go through this. And I sought for a man among them. The Lord speaking here. He's looking for a man. Not a male, but a man. Somebody strong. Somebody that's brave, got courage. That should make up the hedge. Well, it's a hedge. It's a barrier. It's a boundary. It's a put up a hedge to keep things out. It's a military. It's not the bushes in your front yard. It's a military term. And stand in the gap before me for the land. You got a gap in your hedge, a gap in your wall, spiritually. You know, fill that gap and defend and protect your family. Protect what's yours. And that I should not destroy it. This is God speaking. I look for somebody to stand up to Israel, or for Israel, stand up for Israel, plead their case, and beg for mercy. But I found none. At this time, the Israelites had just devolved into all kinds of heinous idol worship and all other kinds of nastiness. And God warned them, turn from your wicked ways, or I'm gonna put the hammer down. You do that one more time, boy. You do that one more time, we just heading to the woodshed. Well, they didn't listen. Now, see, there's precedence for this, because if you remember back in Genesis, Abraham bargained with the Lord for the price of Sodom. Would you destroy it for 50 righteous? And God said, okay, no, I won't. Okay, what about 45? You know, and he talked them all the way down to 5 people. They couldn't, and when the angels came into town, they couldn't find 5 righteous people in the whole town. They got 3.5. Yeah, not even so much that. That's another story. Now, in 2 Samuel 10:12, this is David speaking to his nephew Abishi. They're getting ready to go out against the Amorites, which just hired a bunch of their buddies, the Achilleites, to fight against Israel. And David speaking, and he says, be of good courage, and let us play the men for our people, and for the cities of our God, that the Lord do that which seemeth good to him. David knew God's going to do what God's going to do, but we got to go out and do our part. And be of good courage. Don't have any fear. I mean, courage is having fear, but it's overcoming your fear. And let us play the men. Let's go out there and be men. Let's go out there and take care of the problem, and God's will be done. Let us do our part. Well, gee, Sergeant Soggy, how do I know? No, okay. Let's look at 1 Timothy 4:12. But thou, O men of God, flee from these things and follow. Flee from what things? Your sin, your weakness. After righteousness, godliness, faith, love, patience, and meekness. It's kind of like putting on the whole armor of God. You got to flee from your sin. You get a little crack in your breastplate of righteousness. You get a little sin in there. And it just keeps working in, and you don't fix your armor. It starts to weaken and weaken and weaken. And before too long, it's not armor anymore. You're going to get hurt. Now, this is one of my favorite verses. Here is Job 38:3. Yeah. Gird up now thy loins like a man, for I will demand of thee, and answer thou me. God's showing Job, put on your big boy panties, we're going to have a talk. Job's feeling a little self-righteous and down in the dumps, and he literally got hit by a whirlwind and the largest stock market crash in history, or at least the first. God's telling Job, after all the bad things that had happened, put on your big boy panties. You got some explaining to do. And so we're going to be held accountable for our actions. And being men, we have to defend our families. We have to provide for them. You know, those who do not provide are worse than an infidel and denied the faith. Defense, strength comes in different forms. That definitely comes in different forms. Psalms 39:1-2. I said, I will take heed to my ways, that I sin not with my tongue. I will keep my mouth with a bridle. While the wicked is before me, I was dumb with silence. I held my peace, even from good. And my sorrow was stirred. That's David speaking. Evidently something evil happened, something bad happened, and he stood there with his mouth shut and did nothing. Because he was afraid he would sin. He was more afraid of doing sin than he was of doing right. God knows your heart. Okay, so we're gonna finish this up. I'm not gonna have another 28-minute video that nobody's gonna watch. Edmund Burke, he lived in the 1700s, and to quote him, the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. Well, he must have just got through reading Psalms 39:1-2. And that's what we got going on now. We got a bunch of weak people that won't stand up, and we see that people can't even have chickens in their backyards anymore. Our government is running amok. This is getting crazy, people. Times are changing. The American dream and a white picket fence and a car in the two cars in the driveway and a chicken in every pot are gone. Days are coming that we don't want to see. But like Jesus said, should I let this cup pass from before me? This is our cup. We were born for a time such as this. Just think if George Washington was 20 years earlier or 20 years later, American Revolution wouldn't have happened. 1 Corinthians 10:14. Let all things be done with charity, in love. All things done in love. So are you ready to put on your big boy panties and stand in the gap and protect what's yours and draw your strength from the Lord? And until next time, people, may the Lord bless you and keep your powder dry.